Hello, bakers. Happy Thursday, and welcome to today's Thought Leadership Thursday with KPM Analytics. KPM Analytics supplies instruments that measure critical quality parameters of incoming ingredients, how they perform during the baking process, and ensure the final product quality meets spec. Their comprehensive range of analyzers are used by food producers throughout the world to improve their efficiency, ensure quality, and protect their brand. Today, we are joined by Lena Bosburn, application specialist at Chopin Technologies, a KPM Analytics brand. Welcome, Lena. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you, Lynn. Yes, of course. Well, I have an education in food science and engineering, specialized in cereal industry, actually. So I work for Chopin Technology, which is part of KPM Analytics for more than 9 years now. I actually started as an intern, and then they hired me. And so for the last decade, approximately, I occupied different positions, and I am now a manager of the food products and applications team.
We're on getting into the company as an intern. People should learn from that.
Hopefully, why not?
Yeah. So what kind of rheological analyzers does Chopin Technologies offer?
Well, KPM offers a broad range of solutions, not only rheological analyzers, but this is, of course, one of our specialties. So amongst the most popular ones, we can mention the Farinograph, which is certainly the most well-known equipment produced by Chopin.
I love it. The one that blows a bubble, right?
Exactly. This is the one. Yeah. So it will measure the characteristics of the dough, such as tenacity, extensibility, elasticity, by blowing a bubble of dough, which is quite fun. And then we can, of course, discuss about the Rio F4, very interesting one as well. This is a tool that offers a unique overview of the proofing characteristics of the dough. So including dough development, gas retention, and gas production at the same time.
So this Rio F4, how is that different from the Mixolab?
Well, they focus on two different aspects of the dough, let's say. The proofing characteristics are impacted by the gluten properties, which are measured by the Farinograph, but not only. The proofing characteristics are also impacted by many other things, such as the amylasic activity, the damaged starch content, the type of yeast. And this is the combination of all of that the Rio F4 will measure.
Neat. What else do you offer?
And well, of course, we have the Mixolab, which is our main focus today, and which can be considered as a universal dough characterizer. It provides a lot of information by measuring the evolution of the consistency of the dough submitted to a dual constraint of mixing and temperature evolutions.
So just listening to you explain the Mixolab, you're telling me it's an instrument that reacts like a mixer as you record it, and it goes through a heating cycle, like when it mixes and it cooks it, right?
This is exactly that, yes.
That's great. What are some of the key quality parameters bakers can explore with the Mixolab?
Well, by mixing the dough and by changing the temperature at the same time, the Mixolab kind of simulates the constraints that the dough undergoes during the production process and allows to access many key parameters. So at first, the dough is being mixed with water, which allows to determine the water absorption capacity of the flour. And of course, measure the characteristic of the dough during mixing, such as development time, stability, weakening, all the traditional parameters. But And this is where the Mixolab is unique, is that it will allow to go further. Instead of stopping here, at the mixing information, then the temperature starts increasing, and this gives access to a lot more information. For instance, how the protein network will resist to temperature, which is directly related to the bread volume in the end. Then as from a certain temperature, the starch will start gelatinizing, which gives information about the crumb structure in the end. Then there is a step where the temperature remains constant, but very high temperature, 90 degrees Celsius, which allows to see the amylasic activity, for instance. And finally, the temperature cools down, and this gives us an idea of the starch retrogradation.
So that must be the tail end of the Mixolab, right? How it mixes and then it heats up and it goes up, right? So I've always had questions about that. What does, that tail end really show? What is a steeper curve versus one that's not steep, right? If you compare like two dough formulas, one goes up real steep and one goes not so steep. What does that mean?
Yeah, okay. Well, the tail, as you say, of the Mixolab curve, so the last step of the Mixolab curve is very interesting. It corresponds to a phase where the temperature goes down, the temperature decreases. And this is a step that can be compared to what happened in the bakery when the bread gets out of the oven. So at first, if you eat it, the bread is soft and warm, very good. And that's great. But then with time, the crumb will harden. And this is a phenomena which is related to starch retrogradation. And all flour will not retrograde the same way. So during the final phase of the Mixolab test, this is what we measure, this retrogradation intensity. Basically, a steeper curve will indicate that the retrogradation is very intense, and so that the shelf life of the product may be short. On the contrary, comparing with a curve that is not that steep, the shelf life of this product will be more important, will be longer. And of course, all of that will depend on the final product.
Correct. So it would be a great tool to study the shelf life of a particular formula. Am I correct?
This is exactly that, yes.
That is neat because no other instruments in the industry does that. So it's pretty special with the Mixolab. Yeah. So when you say Mixolab can predict the water absorption, very similar to a Farinograph, is it at the same level as the Farinograph, the way how it predicts the water absorption?
Yes, absolutely. Such as the Farinograph, the Mixolab works at adapted hydration. So basically that means that at first we need to determine what is the correct hydration. The hydration must be adapted to reach a specific consistency. In the case of the Farinograph, that will be 500 Brabender units. And in the case of the Mixolab, that will be 1.1 Newton meter, which is actually the same thing, not the same unit, but the same thing. And so, yeah, in the end, the hydration that we get, Farinograph or Mixolab, is directly linked with the water absorption capacity of the flour at line.
Right. So some bakers may have the question on, is there what are some of the biggest differences they should be aware of between comparison of the Mixolab and the Farinograph?
That's a very interesting question. As you can see, first, the design is clearly not the same. No. Well, I'm kidding, of course, but the biggest difference really relies on the fact that the Mixolab is able to heat and cool down the dough. This allows to observe during the same test not only the protein properties, but also the starch properties, the enzymatic impacts, and the interactions between all of those components. Mm-hmm. And the fact is that most of the tools in the market today, including the Farinograph, they are completely focused on the gluten quality. And this is fine. This is just not enough, considering that the flour is made out of approximately 70% starch. So the Mixolab is actually the only tool allowing a full characterization of the flour. But then, of course, you can also cite different additional benefits, such as the fact that the mixing speed with the Mixolab is more intense. The mixing procedure is more intense, which will limit the apparition of double peaks, which can complicate the reading of the curve. Then there is the mixing bowl can be completely removed from the Mixolab.
Oh, that's easy for cleaning.
Exactly, and then all the pieces they can be separated. So yeah, very easy cleaning.
Awesome. Yeah, this is why we requested for us to live stream into your lab today, so that we could see all these little different things.
Exactly, that's always better.
Yeah, one of the biggest trends right now is gluten-free baking. Can the Mixolab also be used to analyze gluten-free flours?
Oh, definitely, yes. It is even our main recommendation when it comes to such products. You hear gluten-free, you go straight to the Mixolab.
Yeah, I would be interested on the tail side of things, right? I mean, gluten-free is so well known for staling real fast, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And not just that, this is just the fact that, gluten-free flours are made of starch mainly. And so if you want to analyze those products, then you need to focus on the starch parts, which is not something that traditional equipment such as the Farinograph do. But then the Mixolab here can assess those properties very well. So we have made extensive research on different gluten-free flours, such as corn or rice flour, or even insect powder or whatever. So many different products.
You've seen it all.
Yeah. But we did a full webinar on this topic in collaboration with Bakerpedia that can be found on our website.
Yeah, but not the cricket, not the insect powder.
Not this one, no.
Yeah. So how big is the capacity of the mixing chamber?
Well, so this mixing chamber is for approximately 75 grams of dough, which is about 50 grams of flour.
Okay, so with that small little tiny minute amount of flour, can we actually use full formulas in the Mixolab?
Well, okay, this is a great question, and here the answer is yes. Again, over time, we have successfully evaluated the impact of different ingredients such as milk, egg, enzymes, dairy, sugar, salt, etc., etc. And actually, this is even possible to just take a sample of dough from the line and then to place it into the Mixolab for a quick assessment of the consistency.
That's awesome. It means a lot to us when we can do full formula evaluation. And I have one last very important question. How can the Mixolab save bakers money? We all want to make sure that we get a return on our investment, you know, so how will it save us money?
And this is the big question indeed. I would say that the Mixolab being suited to the analysis of both doughs and flours, it is actually a real chance for bakers to completely take over the quality of their process. Basically, bakers can take a sample of dough from the line and in a matter of minutes assess objectively here being a keyword, if a dough is good or bad for their specific process and their specific final product. And then they can actually check the quality and regularity of their incoming flours and incoming ingredients, and better qualify what is a good or bad flour for their specific process. Not to rely on consultants or I don't know, a flour that has a water absorption of this or that is good. No, but actually measuring what is good for them. And well, just for instance, you see, if a flour is not adapted because of the starch properties, then traditional equipment such as the Farinograph will not be able to see it, just because, well, you cannot see what you cannot see. And so by implementing such a quality system, it is therefore possible to build specification at each step of the process. And if there is a deviation in the quality, to understand exactly where it is coming from. So
That's awesome.
yeah, this is
and also just one more thought I had is, even if you can implement it into your quality process and receiving 1% change in water is going to save the company a lot of money. You know, so if the more you can use it for the optimization step and the baking step, the more you're going to save money. So hopefully bakers will be able to get there one day.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you can assess precisely the water absorption capacity. You can define on a complete overview of the flour characteristic what is good and what is not good. You can go even further. It is possible to assess the impact of enzymes, for instance, and then to fine-tune exactly what amounts to use to reach a specific behavior. So allowing not to waste costly products, but still guaranteeing a good impact on the dough and on the final product characteristics. So there are in the end many possibilities to save money using the Mixolab.
That's true. Well, that's a lot of information on rheological instrumentations today. I would like to thank you, Lena, for taking the time out and explaining to our listeners and followers on how we could save money using the Mixolab. So thank you again for coming on.
Well, thank you very much, Lynn, for inviting me. This is always a pleasure.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.